What's up, guys? I know it's been a minute, which is a fucking understatement, but nevertheless, I am back. And today I'm feeling a little different. Today, instead of reviewing an entire show, I'm gonna just do a review on an episode. An episode that I really like. Fucking obviously. Well, let's get into it. Today we're talking about Bob's Burgers, a show I'm sure that needs no introduction, but considering it's been around 10 fucking years since it's premiered, for camaraderie's sake, let's give a short summary for all the Patrick Star niggas living under a rock, shall we? Bob's Burgers is an animated sitcom about a lower middle class family living in the upper part of Ocean City, New Jersey. They own a burger joint named after the father, Bob. Bob is an amateur yet passionate chef that's always dreamed about owning his own successful restaurant, but thanks to his less than stellar family and friends and other misfortunes, shit never really takes off, but they get by. Barely, but they get by all the same. And that's kind of the whole theme of this particular episode. Pro Tiki, Con Tiki. The episode starts when Bob receives a call from his old friend, Warren Fitzgerald, who unlike Bob is actually very successful. Bob even goes into detail about how back in the day, Warren was the leader of their friend group, or as Bob calls it, he was the guy. When Warren arrives later that night, he explains that the one reason why he's finally able to visit is because he's actually retired. Later that night in the restaurant, Bob cooks up a burger for Warren and he's actually surprised on how good it is. He even admits to Bob that he was fully ready to give a bullshit compliment if the burger was mediocre at best. But he's really impressed with Bob's culinary skills and is shocked of the lack of business he actually gets. He actually gets Warren to invest in him. He puts $100,000 towards his business. Well, goddamn, where do I get friends like that? Sure to give me the motivation to make more contact, oh god.
Give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me money.
Moving on to the next morning, the family is obviously shocked at what happened, completely ecstatic that now they're basically rich. After a few funny exchanges, Bob decides to go to the bank, and his banker is so suspicious that he's delivering a check of this volume that he actually thinks that he committed fraud and was actually going to have him arrested and taken him in by the guards. The banker even goes as far to say how he's disappointed in Bob and hasn't really come to this. But after he talks to Warren on the phone, things get straightened out and he's still shocked to where he's pretty much almost trying to talk Warren out of giving him this much fucking money. Also, I forgot to mention at this point in the story that there's a B-plot going around with Gene sleeping in the living room because he has to give his bedroom to Warren. I'm not really going to talk about it because it's not really that funny, and the only real funny jokes you get out of it is him calling Warren to deliver him fries in the middle of the night, and this little joke about him pissing in his rain boots when he doesn't feel like going to the fucking bathroom. Anyway, fast forwarding back to the main plot, when he gets back to the restaurant, that's when shit kind of hits the fan. Said shit hits the fan when it turns out Warren's doing a complete makeover at Bob's restaurant, and Bob, being the control freak he is, does not really like it at first. See, Warren wants to make the whole restaurant tiki themed because he thinks that'll bring in more customers with the new atmosphere, but Bob, being afraid that it will just distract from his food and people will start showing up for the attraction and not for his actual food, meaning his hard work and passion for culinary skills basically will mean nothing to the success of his business. But Warren talks Bob into thinking that everything is going to be okay. But obviously that shit doesn't stick because then there'd be no conflict in this fucking episode. We see this drastic takeover take an effect on Bob as he starts just, well, mumbling everything, not really reacting to anything his family or Warren tells him, just he kind of becomes a soulless drone. His family constantly asks him if he's okay, but all he does is walk back and forth, constantly pace and mumbles, "No, it's all good, it's all good, Warren knows what he's doing, it's all good, it's all good." And obviously, shit's not all good. But things don't really get bad until the next day, where the business is fully open but with the new tiki theme, and unfortunately, Bob's suspicions are proven true. The next day, a bunch of business guys go popping into his restaurant all because of the new tiki theme. But after Bob talks to them about how their food is and everything else, all they could say was like, "Yeah, it's fun, this place looks fun, it just looks fun." Pretty much saying they don't really give a shit about the food, just that the atmosphere is what draw them in, and that's kind of a slap to the face to Bob, who really cares about the art of his craft and how good his burgers are. He wants to hear how good his burgers are. He doesn't give a shit about the setting or the atmosphere, but it seems to be all what they care about. And at that moment, Bob realizes that his restaurant isn't his restaurant anymore. The customers don't care about his food. They could be eating absolute garbage or Arby's. The final straw gets pulled for Bob when Jimmy Pesto, his rival, comes in and compliments his restaurant, saying that finally he wised up and made the place look nice and acceptable, saying that he would even eat there, which is the last straw for Bob. The last thing he wants to be is exactly like Jimmy Pesto. They're complete opposites. Jimmy Pesto's food sucks because he puts no passion into it. It's all mediocre, hell, worse than mediocre as we've seen throughout the show. The only reason why he makes business because he makes everything look fun. He has a theme. He's a hack and does everything to make a quick buck. As long as it gives him success, he'll do it. He has no integrity, which is the exact opposite of Bob. He doesn't want to become like Jimmy Pesto or any other jerks. He doesn't want to impress anybody who would be oppressed by that. So after this, he makes the sudden realization that what he has to do to get his restaurant back and run things that he wants to, he has to give the check back to Warren. And obviously, to Warren's dismay and his family's disapproval, they don't want him to give him back the money. But Bob is headstrong and decides that he's going to give it to him anyway. So he goes to the bank to get it wired back into his account. But even the bank doesn't want Bob to return the money. He tells his banker that he has to do it, but his banker just replies, "Nope, no I don't have to do anything."
The money from your account and wire it back to Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yes, please.
Just saying it out loud sounds like a bad idea, so no.
Wait, what? You have to.
I do not have to. I don't.
So Bob just says to write him a cashier's check, and the banker begrudgingly does it. Returning to the restaurant, another fight breaks out. In this fight, Bob finally unpacks his emotions towards Warren, saying how he's pissed off at him, thinking that he can just come in and waltz in and take over everything, thinking that he can just do anything that he wants because he was the guy. But during the fight, something gets revealed. Warren says back in the old days, he wasn't the guy. In fact, Warren considered him the guy. Warren was always impressed with Bob's passion and dreams that he wanted to be a part of it. He just wanted to be a part of it so badly. He saw his family, everything that he didn't have. All Warren had was money, shallow money. He didn't have all the love that a family brings for doing something passionately. And he just desperately wanted to be in that, not knowing that he was just actually taking over it. After that revelation, the two think about it and Warren decides to accept the check. The next day, they say their apologies and all that, and they end off on good terms. Warren goes off to his successful life and decides to leave Bob to his normal life with his loving family. Leaving with a newfound respect for each other, their friendship grows. I assume, because after this episode, we never really see or hear from Warren again, but I like to assume that they're friends. Bob doesn't have really too many. And that was the episode Pro Tiki Con Tiki. I chose to do this episode, obviously, because I like it and because I really vibe with the message. It's pretty much an analyzation of how Bob is and how he works mentally. How he wants to do things his way and not others' way. How it's more worth it to them, or him, if he gets success by his own means and not relying on somebody else or some other cheap tactic to become famous or get his accolades. He wants to have a famous restaurant via his own merit, not by some fancy theme or by someone that he's associated with. And he's willing to die on that hill. Even though at the time, he doesn't really have fame, but hopefully with his hard work, he does. A running argument with the show creators is that if Bob's actually good at cooking. Obviously that argument's kind of stupid by now because at this point in the show's runnings, there have been multiple episodes of people being impressed by Bob's food. And hopefully that trend stays within the show so Bob can truly get the fame that he truly deserves. Because, well, obviously at this point it's blatantly obvious that he's a pretty good cook. And I hope that everybody that watched this episode and people who watch this video also take in the message. Don't let anybody tell you how to do you, and make sure you get your success the way that you want it, without any compromise whatsoever. After all, it's your life and your success. Achieve it and live it the way that you want to. Well, I'm Dapper'z, and hopefully the next video won't take over a year long to make. Hopefully. Well, until next time, see why at.